Hi, my name is Linnea Ann, also known as Mimi, also known as Miss Blowfish, also known as Ann, and welcome to my YouTube channel. This video you are watching right now, and I am so nervous about this. Last time I posted this video, it had to be taken down due to not doing it in a way that protected people in said video. I even wrote a book at one point. A lot of people want me to write it again or do a video again, so I'm doing this video again, hoping that it will honor people and not make people out to be the bad guy. Keep in mind, this is my side of the story. There's always more than one side of every story. So, welcome to my life. My name's Linnea, and I am 26 years old currently. I was born in a beautiful place called Colfax, Washington, back in 1995, and to some amazing parents. And when I was born, they put me in an incubator thinking I was cold, and I burned up. From there, my life, like that TikTok video trend, has been kind of crazy. A couple years, not too long after I was born, maybe when I was 2 years old, I grabbed onto a top of a stovetop and grasped it so hard. I don't remember which hand it was. I think it was this hand. And it burned my hand so badly that I shouldn't even have movement at all in my hand. God does some amazing things. I mean, He protected me and He healed me. I think a little bit after that, in 1997, that's when my sister was born. Everybody tells me that when she was born, I claimed her as mine as soon as I saw her. And ever since then, she's been my best friend. She has been my dark angel. Fast forward a little bit more. A little after she was born, and we were maybe, I want to say 2000. We were in jungle camp training. Mom says that we were in Mississippi. I don't know if we were in Mississippi or Missouri, but we were definitely in jungle camp training. And there was a lightning storm so bad that it killed 2 people, and my dad was struck by lightning. All I can remember, I was only 4 when it happened, and all I can remember is I can remember people crying and being in pain, and I can remember chaos, which is weird for a 4-year-old to remember growing up, but growing up, I had a lot of nightmares, and I didn't know why, and I would talk to my mom about it, and she said, yeah, you were in the middle of it. You were in the tarp hut with us when your dad got struck by lightning. And when I was told this, I was in shock. I still have memories to this day that come back, and I have to identify if they're nightmares or if they really happened. So a little after that, um, I don't know if it was before or after, but my sister, the one who I still love to this day, ended up in the hospital. I won't go into detail why she was in the hospital, but I will say this: it was pretty bad. It was life-threatening. And that's her story to tell. And I'm going to do my best to tell my story without giving other people's details away too much. But all I can remember during those moments was how I was jealous because she had a doll. and, and I was so young, so I didn't know what it was about, like what was happening. But I remember just wanting everything she had. And I was like so jealous. Like, I was so young, but I was so jealous of like her doll and her Play-Doh. Like, what? Like, I bet you guys would too if you were that young. But so after that, then our next sister was born, and she's actually the one getting married next month, which is really cool for her. I'm really happy for her. I'm actually going to be in the wedding, so I'm really excited about that. But so she was born in 2000, and a little bit after she was born, she ended up in the hospital as well for something different, but it was pretty bad. Um, then in 2002, my sister was born. My last sister was born in Michigan. So keep in mind, me and the sister born after me were born in Washington State. The sister who's getting married was born in Mississippi, and the sister that was last was born in Michigan. And it was really cool. I was in kindergarten at that time, and I got held back kind of. Like, the parents decided to send me in late because they didn't really know how to like work with me to because I was so immature. I wasn't ready for school yet. And when I went into kindergarten, um there was this book called like The Kissing Hand, and I still love that book to this day. It was my favorite book growing up. And I I felt like I was having fun in school. Like, I really liked school. But then all of a sudden, I get diagnosed with something that wasn't really noticeable back then. Like, not a lot of people knew about it back then. And it was called ADHD, Attention Deficit Hyperactive Disorder, or Attention Deficit Hyperness Disorder. Basically, I was diagnosed with the fact that I couldn't focus on things for very long, and I wasn't aware of my surroundings. Well, I started medication, and all of a sudden I realized, as I looked around me, I have no friends. I think that's when the bullying started, because I didn't understand like everybody else by then, and I couldn't grasp it. And it was just so weird because the following year we moved schools. We changed schools. And I was in first grade and my sister was in kindergarten. And then we changed schools again. By the time I graduated high school, I went into 19 different schools, including preschools and daycares. And it was because at the beginning of my life, we were a missionary family, meaning that we worked for God, we worked for Jesus, and we did volunteer work for Jesus, and we worked, and we didn't leave the United States. So we were part of New Tribes, so we didn't leave the United States, and we worked at colleges and camps and so many cool things, honestly. So so we ended up moving. And I think it was my second time in second grade, we were in Florida. And we had a lot of fun in Florida. It was really cool. Um, but yeah, I got held back my second time. I ended up having second time in second grade. And that's when I realized, oh, I read differently. Like, I'm different. Like, I didn't know it back then, but now I realize to this day, and I told my family about this. I said to them, I think the writing, the way I wrote, set me up for failure. Because in kindergarten, you learned, I don't remember the technical word for it, and if you guys know the technical word for it, feel free to comment it down below. But I learned half cursive, which was like in between print and cursive in kindergarten. And then in first grade, I was supposed to learn print. And then in second grade, we went back to half cursive. And by the time I got in second grade, I was messed up with writing. A lot of my friends ask me all the time if I'm by chance dyslexic a little bit. Both my parents have dyslexia, so it's still a possibility that I could be. Um, but my brain is kind of wired differently as is, and I'll get into that more later into the story. But um, so so yeah, my brain is a little wired differently as is, but so what am I trying to say? So I ended up in second grade, and I ended up in a kindergarten reading level. And not because I couldn't read, but because I I was horrible at fluency. And this is actually something common with something else, which I'll explain later on in the story. But I my fluency was so bad that I had to get on one-on-one reading classes, and I was in a kindergarten reading level. And how I know I was kindergarten, because of what class I went into and what the other kids, how old the other kids were. And but I really loved Florida overall because I loved going to Disney World. And it was just like an hour away. So we would go all the time. Like, we spent most of our time at Disney World. Um, my parents at that time were doing missions work still, and we ended up being there for a pretty good amount of time. But for the summer before third grade, we moved back to Mississippi, and I joined a. It's funny because it wasn't like a learning center per se, but it was a learning center that they had set it up. And I went to a learning center with my sister, and we would just walk there and or bike there, and it was so much fun because I loved the people there. And honestly, I don't remember the kids there, but I really considered them my friends, even if they didn't consider me their friends. I considered them my friends. I didn't get to see them in school and stuff. Our school was lack for a better term, was, yeah. Keep in mind this is in Mississippi, so if that helps anything, yeah, it was that. And so So, about a month into third grade, we had to leave. We had to leave Mississippi and go to my cousin's house for 2 weeks because there was something, a storm, and it was a hurricane. And the hurricane's name was Hurricane Katrina. And we left and we came back. And from what I understand, keep in mind this is my story, side of the story. My dad lost his job because he evacuated us. And so we were no longer part of New Tribes. So we went to Washington. While in Washington, me and my sisters did a lot of moving around. Our family did a lot of moving around. We started off with my grandparents' house. And while we were at my grandparents' house, up until that point, my sister, the one born right after me, and I didn't get along. We had a really hard relationship. And in third grade, something amazing happened that changed that. Because we were in third grade together. And we were in this breakfast line. And I think the kid's name was Alex. I think that's what his name was. And he was a bit of a bully. Alex was a bit of a bully. But the only reason I mention his name now is because of something amazing he did. And Alex, if you're ever watching this, you're probably never going to see this, dude. But thank you. Thank you for doing what you did. Because it changed the relationship with me and my sister forever. He saw me and my sister fighting. He turned around and he said, "How dare you?" He's like, "You are sisters. How dare you? You're supposed to be protecting her. You're supposed to be there for her." And from that moment on, my sister protected me and was my guardian angel. And that's why I call her my dark angel all the time. Because she has always been there for me, protecting me, watching out for me. She thinks her job is done, but it just means my job has just begun. So, Alex, thank you, dude. I don't know where you're at now. I don't even know if you're still around. But what you did gave me a relationship with my sister. And God worked through you. And I thank you for that. So we ended up going to another school that year. We went to 3 third grades. Like 3 different schools for third grade. The third grade we went to was a place called Idlewild, and it was awesome. It was beautiful. I even had relationships with the librarians where I would write stories and they would put it on the bookshelves. Like they would have just a section for me to just write, and I would go there whenever I wanted to. I even went as far as helped out like in the preschool program. Like the preschool teachers letting me help out with the kids every once in a while, like help out and during lunchtime and stuff, which was really cool. It was just a really cool thing to be doing. I was even a kindergarten helper during science, like our science festival days. We did like 3 days of science, I think it was. I could be wrong though, don't quote me on that. But yeah, I stayed there for part of 4th grade, and then we moved again, and we ended up going to the school, and again, I can't go into details because it would be best if one of my relatives talked about this instead of me. Because it isn't my story to share, because it didn't happen to me. But let's just say, yeah, No. I'm glad we left, that we didn't stick with that school. And we instead went to another school. We went to a school called Fawcett Elementary School. And the reason why I'm naming some schools and I'm not naming all of them isn't because I forgot their names or because they were really bad, like some of them were. That it's because there's some things I shouldn't have to share. I don't have to share all my details, but I want to talk about Fawcett Elementary School because there were this amazing staff, and it's the reason why, like, it's the beginning reason why I got diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. I mean, we started the process of getting me diagnosed with autism because of this amazing staff. Oh my goodness. So, I think I have to go. Yeah, I have to go potty. So, we'll stop the video here. And this part here will be part 2 of my life story. And yes, it's really long. And I'm sorry if I lost you by now. But I'll see you in part 2.